Hey, here is a fun fact for you. Do you know Phoenix has an extensive canal system originally built by the Native Americans centuries ago, which is still in use today for irrigation and flood control?
Okay. I thought you were gonna say it was built by aliens.
It's not always about aliens, dude.
Okay, yeah, it's not just UFO.
Not just UFO. There you go. And do you know why I'm talking about Phoenix today?
Why? Phoenix Lights?
Phoenix Lights, the most famous Phoenix Lights.
Of March 13th, 1997, people across Arizona, especially here in the valley, reported seeing a silent, miles-long V-shaped group of lights gliding quietly overhead. Was it a military mission, a prank perhaps, or visitors from outer space? The questions and confusion over the sighting have only grown during the prevailing years.
I think it's one of the famous UFO sightings when it comes to the amount of people looking at it or amount of people experiencing an UFO sighting, right? What do you got me on that?
Yeah, it's even before that exact Phoenix Light incident, there were a lot of sighting in general which were happening, especially these kind of massive kind of UFO size around 90s. During a similar period, people were sighting worldwide. It wasn't just Phoenix, but Phoenix, Arizona had the largest sighting. In a sense, you had a lot of people having an actual witness, eyewitness, even with some videos. But it wasn't a time where like there were cell phone cameras like how we have now. But
Right.
That made a significant impact in UFO timeline.
That's interesting. When you say massive size, why did you say massive size? What's with the size?
Yeah, so we all like even when we talked about Bob Lazar, right? Like
Yeah.
so the kind of traditional thinking of like flying saucers are all like maybe a size of a car is what people usually think of. Uh, when they sighted this type of UFO in Phoenix, it was almost like 2 mile long, is what people said. It's crazy, right?
Like 2 mile, the length of that particular aircraft or space, whatever.
It's not an aircraft, UFO.
UFO. Yes, let's not forget. It's unidentified yet, and it's about the size of it's 2 mile long.
Yep.
You mean to say that if I have to walk across that UFO, it'll take me 35 minutes?
In your best day. In your best day.
That's okay. That's
And assuming Phoenix weather, depending on summer, I don't know if you will
if
make
I will
it.
make it for the 2 miles. No, that's a
Yeah.
good point. But going back to the size of it, I cannot even comprehend that size of an object flying up in the air. How did people react to that? I mean, forget it's UFO or not. That big size is by itself is incomprehensible, right?
Exactly, like people were literally taken aback, and especially when you think about the fact where this UFO stayed in sight for almost 5 minutes, and it was also apparently flying quite low than a traditional airplane altitude. It was like just like some 1,000 feet from the ground, or yeah, something like that. It's like quite close, and seeing such a huge structure just like hovering on top of you, it would have been crazy. I can't imagine like what people would have been thinking, and that's like maybe just to compare the size. I think it would definitely be bigger than an aircraft carrier. Yeah,
Definitely, yeah. I don't think an aircraft carrier is like 2 miles long.
yeah.
That's interesting.
So why do you think like a lot of people saw the actual UFO?
Oh, you mean that night?
Yeah.
What what I found reading articles out there is that that particular night, people were out looking at the sky because they're expecting the Hale-Bopp comet to appear that night. So it was like it was supposed to be an eventful night that people were waiting because that comet incident was going to happen after 2000 years. So a lot of people were out in their backyards or in open grounds just staring at the sky to get a glimpse of the comet, but they ended up seeing this massive triangular shaped UFO instead of the comet.
Yeah, it's exactly right. Like that's why, like usually, it's you don't go and look at the sky all the time.
Exactly.
But when you are expecting to see something, and then out of nowhere, such a huge triangular craft ended up showing up, like I think people would have been really blown away by what they saw, and that kind of started a bit of a panic, to say, in the whole Phoenix area.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, which kind of the whole news and all every people like around that like were like they were confused like what they were actually seeing, because I don't know how I would react like if I'm gonna see something like that huge in the sky.
Exactly. That was my first thought, right? Like, if you're not used to seeing something that big, first of all, me personally, I'll be in shock because I cannot comprehend what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
So I'll be like in shock. I'll be like, maybe I'll not move for a second. I don't know. I really wonder what people went through that day in their minds. It really surprises
Yeah.
me till date. But tell me this: how did the media, because it's a mass sighting, like many people saw it. There isn't just one person who saw this and gave a story, and people were like, hit or miss. No, this sighting is being viewed by thousands of people, and people would have gone to media saying that we saw this, we saw that, or some people would have even captured uh, with whatever technology was available at that time, like a video camera or whatever. Is there a video of this sighting? Did the media get hold of this news and made it public? How did the government react to this? What's up with how this got um, outside of just the viewers?
Yeah, that's a lot of questions. Let's go one at a time. So one thing is, yeah, definitely this was covered in a way, and that's why I think we are talking about it. There were like few videos, but obviously they were not the most, what do you say, a clear video to say. We didn't have a 4K camera at that time, so it would have been nice. But there were like people who reported like interesting facts. One of the thing they said they saw was actual windows they were able to see. There were, because this triangular shaped craft had a lot of lights in the front. So the material, people said like it was like something like between like gray bluish kind of a hue it had, but in front of this triangular shaped craft there were like a lot of lights. These were not just like some random glowing light, it was like quite coherent, so it was like obvious lights which was there. And in the sighting was for almost like 5 minutes is what I understand. 5 minutes is like quite a long time to see such a big thing. And there was a few moments where the light went off or something, where like people managed to see the windows which was there, and some people even said they managed to see some shadow beings or something like a gray type of alien or some kind of a being inside the window.
No, come on. No, we are stretching the limits here. But
Yeah.
is that the news that?
So that's what was reported. This was witnessed by multiple people. I know it's really hard for us to take in, but that's the thing, right? Like people who actually witness this, right? Like imagine how difficult it is, or how they would feel, especially when the governor goes to a press conference. He does a press conference,
Okay.
and he kind of has someone coming into the press conference room with Martian alien costume. So he made a mockery out of people. So they
Wow.
said like, oh yeah, we caught the alien. We knew like who it was, and then said like, yeah, I'll get back to your job. It was nothing. It was some show. So people felt really insulted. So when you see something so real and you know like it really happened, and then the government comes and say, okay, no, what you saw is like nothing. There was nothing. You were just imagining just in your brain. So it's like it felt like really bad. So the way the person, or like at that time, so one of the reason the person said is, this was like later during the years, where the governor said later in the years he didn't have an option, because he felt people were like going through mass hysteria, like because he was afraid, he didn't know how to control the fear. So one way he thought was doing this was a way to make it light, where like bringing some comedy or thing, but it kind of made it like an insult. He did feel bad for doing that, but he didn't know what else he could have done that.
Wow, that's, least to say, that's really surprising that a government official would do something like that to their own people, right? I mean, this doesn't even sound like a decent cover up, like how the government usually does. This is like outright, like you mentioned, insulting. And when you said later in the year he said that he felt bad of doing something like that, but did he also say that this event really stirred up some things at the government, and did they take any action, any tangible action after that?
So the point is, this governor. Okay, I think it's very unfair to blame that governor anything, because he was just trying to do his job. He was also a witness of that craft. He himself actually saw that, is what I understand. I might be wrong, but I have to check that. But he wasn't really trying to insult, or like he wasn't part of any cover up. So he was just trying to look out for his people. He didn't know what answer to give. So he was just trying to manage the situation. That's all he was trying. So there were like a lot of inquiry people try to do about this. They did reach out to the Air Force, like military Air Force, like who is supposed to monitor the sky. When you have such kind of invasion of the airspace, the military should be knowing, right? So they did reach out, and you know what kind of an explanation they gave?
Let me guess. It was a military training gone wrong.
Not gone. That would have been at least like, okay, something okay. They said it was just like some flares, aircraft flares. So they do flares, like, which is like something you can compare with the fireworks.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, people just saw some random flares in the sky, and they thought, okay, those lights were the UFO.
So the US Air Force basically said, hey, come on, guys, we were just having some fun with fireworks. And you guys thought it was an UFO? Is that,
Yeah, it just added a lot of insult to people.
Yeah.
That's why if you talk anyone like who is still alive from that time, I'm sure like, yeah, people would be. It didn't happen like long back. It was just 1997. So it is they still are not satisfied with any answers which was given. So because there wasn't any answer which was given, and they know what they saw, and no amount of explanation if like a flare or anything is gonna make them feel satisfied. So yeah, that's why it still remains a mystery, but it wasn't some weather balloon or some flare for sure.
is it still an open case today? Or did people forget about it? Did government went past it? Or are there things happening to dig deeper into this issue?
I don't think there was anything much done about this topic, but one thing one could say is there were several sightings related to UFO which were happening around that time, around the similar region, like near Phoenix. Not like the same size of the aircraft, but there were several other things which were people were citing. And there was another interesting thing which happened. This was in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where almost a similar size, similar type of craft which was seen I think like the 1998 or somewhat like very close to that timeline. There were like few sightings. It wasn't like the same kind of a massive sighting which happened in Phoenix, but this was another kind of corroboration of okay, something like that like does exist in the sky, and once in a while maybe it shows up.
Wow. UFOs definitely did a lot of travel in the 90s, because I think there are too many cases
Yeah.
that we can talk about that happened in the 90s,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And what is your theory about a lot of UFO sightings in that particular time period, and what is your theory about the size of the UFO itself? Because most of the UFOs that we see and talk about are usually smaller in size, like we already mentioned. What is your theory that this is such a huge UFO, and that particular timeline being so busy with visiting Earth?
Yeah, my theory is during 90s people didn't have a lot of social media. People really were excited to look at the skies. Now most people look down, maybe always on the phone and not really want to look up. Again, yeah, I'm just saying this as a one reason, but I don't know, maybe so one theory could be is where these might be where like that's when like these crafts are trying to scout and trying to do some kind of a information gathering kind of a phase. Could be maybe they had enough information, or maybe they understood okay, maybe it's not the greatest to be seen all the time, but I don't think it would be a situation where all these things only existed during 90s. Maybe we don't see them, or maybe this is, I don't know, maybe we don't look enough, is what I feel personally.
Gotcha. And also, it looks like it happened by chance, right? People were outside,
Yeah.
staring at the sky to basically view the comet that was supposed to happen. And by chance, they look at this stuff. I don't know if there is any reason behind this UFO appearing on the same night that a comet is supposed to
Maybe
appear.
they were also trying to look what people were looking for.
Right? maybe like, oh wow, so this event is happening after 2000 years. Let me go take a look.
Yeah.
And they want to get the best seat in the house. They were all the way down towards the surface of the earth, and that was it. And that particular aircraft, or that particular
Yeah.
unidentified flying object was never seen again.
I don't think we have a specific report about it, but over the years there were like other places which kind of had reported similar thing, but we didn't have such a mass sighting as Phoenix lights. So it definitely was a massive UFO sighting which had happened, and I wouldn't say like that was the last, but with such scale and size, yeah, that was one in the history.
Do you have any more things to share, or?
Yeah, I think what it teaches is I think we should look at the sky more often. Go out and look above, like up in the sky, not just like okay down. There we might find something interesting.
Yeah, because it's been 26 years since the Phoenix Lights
Yep.
incident, and it is still a mystery to till date.
Yep.
So maybe we could be witnessing some mystery when we look up. Hey, it was nice talking about Phoenix Lights.
And if it's not just UFO, you might see some comet.
At least
At
a
least.
comet, right? Yeah.